What's up everybody, BigSweetC here with you. Got a special little video for you. Today I want to talk about Resident Evil VII Biohazard. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, we did stream this. This is the first time I had ever played it. We did finish it. Took me about 9.5, 10 hours, something to that effect. So not a super long game, but a very, very fun one in my opinion. It took me about 2 days really, because one of them was like 7.5 hour like marathon, but it was totally worth it because it didn't feel nearly like 7.5 hours. It just kind of it plowed through it, but yet in a way that you didn't feel like it was just plowing through the game. You know, you felt like everything had a purpose, and everything that was coming up was exciting, and you were kind of like excited for it and ready for it, and yet at the same time not ready for it. And I don't really know if that kind of makes any sense, but it was absolutely fantastic in my opinion. If you haven't played it yet, it is a 2017 survival horror game developed and published by Capcom. It is the 9th major installment in the Resident Evil series, diverges from the more action-oriented Resident Evil V and Resident Evil VI, returning to the franchise's survival horror roots, emphasizing exploration as opposed to the action-oriented stuff. The player controls Ethan Winters as he searches for his wife in a derelict plantation occupied by an infected family, solving puzzles and fighting enemies. It is the first main series game to use the first-person view. So that was actually the first thing that I noticed about it, although I have to admit the Resident Evil VIII Village demo, the Maiden demo, was actually the first Resident Evil first-person view that I actually played. But that demo is what kind of got me excited about playing Resident Evil VII. Now, it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad that Resident Evil VIII got me into wanting to play Resident Evil VII because I did have a good time. Having said that, I think it probably would have been better had I not realized, you know, what it was. Now, obviously, there were like trailers and stuff for Resident Evil 7 when it first came out, so if you did play this, you probably weren't completely surprised. But in my opinion, if you weren't there for the streams, I haven't, played a new Resident Evil game since probably Code Veronica, so it's been a little while for me. And I didn't really know what Resident Evil 7 was when I first played that 8 demo. And it just kind of, made 7 even better, in my opinion. But it's the first full-length game to use the new RE engine that was developed by Capcom. Development was led by Koshi Nakanishi, director of the 2012 Nintendo 3DS game Resident Evil Revelations. And so it definitely has its kind of unique experience in the terms of the Resident Evil games that I played. So it was, like I said, originally released in 2017. This was the first time that I had ever gotten to play it, and I'm so happy that I did. Back to kind of the plot. We play Ethan Winters. Now this is kind of what got me going at first. So the plot kind of goes: Ethan Winters in July of 2017 gets this mysterious message from a plantation down in Dulvey, Louisiana, from his missing wife, Mia. So she's been presumed dead for about 3 years now, and Ethan gets this crazy random, it kind of almost looks like a like a visual text message. He gets this random, like almost as if it was kind of like Outlast, where he gets an email. This isn't an email, this is a video sent to him from his wife telling him she's sorry for lying to him and don't come find her. Of course, he decides to ignore all that and head down to this plantation in Louisiana to look for her. He ends up finding her. We get to this house, and it opens in this run-down, derelict plantation house, and you have to kind of like break your way into it. Doesn't seem like there's anybody there, but we do find Mia imprisoned in the basement, and we decide to free her. Once we do, she does try to lead us out But all of a sudden, whatever it is that brought her here in the first place kind of starts turning her back into this crazy, weird, evil enemy type. She attacks us, meaning Ethan, and we have to kind of, essentially what we presume is kill our former wife, Mia, who's been possessed by this thing, monster, demon, whatever you want to have it. And then now we have to get out of the house. So we think she's dead. Spoiler alert, turns out she's not. She's part of the whole story. We do get a phone call from a woman named Zoe who claims to be a family member of this household. She's trying to help us get out because she hasn't been completely infected just yet. She has been tainted, she tells you. She hasn't been infected. The rest of the game is basically you running around this plantation in the backyard in this crazy super secret base that they apparently have underground, as this family who has been possessed by this evil demon spirit. They go around, they call each other the family. There's Daddy Dearest, there's Mama, there's the brother, Jacob, I think his name is, and then there's Zoe, the sister. Zoe is the only one that hasn't fully turned over, although throughout the story you do kind of find out that it's not really their fault that they've turned to the dark side. Daddy doesn't seem to want to do it. Mama kind of seems more inclined, and then Jacob is fully off his rocker, and he's totally down for these new quote-unquote powers that this demon spirit has given him. Turns out this demon spirit is a little girl by the name of Evelyn. You find out later in the game that Mia was employed by Umbrella Corporation on this random ship in the bayou, and the operation went awry when Evelyn realized that she was strong enough with her powers that no one could contain her any longer, and she kind of wrecks this boat and infects this family because that's all she wants. She just wants to be a normal family. And through some of the backstory of what you see, you kind of find out that Umbrella Corporation hasn't really been treating her that way. Surprise, surprise. That was actually kind of the most kind of like Resident Evil thing about this game to me. It was also probably the most confusing part of it, because it seems like this fantastic story where you're this random guy who decides to go save his wife. You're not really that good at fighting. Now, it kind of seems a little strange that you do all of a sudden you're able to like pick up all these weapons and like use them fairly efficiently. But I mean, that's not too out of the realm for a survival horror. It kind of goes back to that whole idea where if your life is literally on the line, you kind of kick in these survival instincts. And although you might not be very good with them, you do kind of get used to using them, so to speak. So that didn't really bother me that much. Now, allegedly, I haven't played any of the DLC. Allegedly, some of the backstory on Ethan is a little more detailed than that, and you do kind of find out that he's a little bit more qualified for this type of adventure than you would think. But I'm talking base game. You don't really find out much about him. He's just kind of this random guy who just happens to be able to kind of survive all this stuff and figure out all these puzzles. The puzzles are fantastic. You kind of go back to that, as it was saying before, kind of go back to that early Resident Evil 1 and 2, where you're in the police station, you got to find the 3 medallions. Well, in this case, you find the 3 dog heads, I think it is, and you put them on the door, and that's what opens basically the rest of the game. You've got fantastic interaction with the environment because of the first-person view, so the environment around almost becomes its own specialty character, whereas previously the environment kind of, the environment is an enemy in itself, because you're always worried that you're going to come around these corners and get popped by some enemy, and you don't. You kind of have this fear that anything's going to be around the corner at all times. So the environment is like another enemy. They do have these newer enemies called Molded, which seem they were pretty interesting characters. But end all be all, the actual gameplay, the shoot 'em up style stuff, not all that different from any of the others, and not super difficult Now, we played it on normal. I know there's like a master or a nightmare mode or something, so I'm guessing that's probably a little tougher. But if they do anything like they did before, it's not really tougher, it's just kind of less supplies that you have to get through. But there is like a new game plus, which is kind of cool. There's 2 endings. It's the first one that I can remember. Having said that, 2 endings. It's the first one that I can remember where there was like a legitimate moral decision. You had to save one person over the other, and so that's the first time I can remember there actually being like a moral decision where it leads to 2 different endings. Having said that, I do realize that, you know, in the first 2 you can play as Claire first and then Chris, or like Leon and then, or sorry, Leon and Claire and Jill and Chris. You know, you can play them in certain orders, and you do technically get a slightly different ending if I'm not mistaken. But it's essentially the same game. You just play them in whichever order you want. Whereas this one, there is like a storyline, and there's like different characters. They react differently when you make this final decision. And while I haven't completely finished one of them, I picked Mia. I chose to save my wife during the live stream playthrough. I'm almost done with the Zoe choosing as well, and there has been so far a little bit of different dialogue, but not too much. But it does give you that kind of moral decision, and that's the first time I can remember that in any of the Resident Evil games that I played. So that was kinda cool. Now the best thing about it is I got it free when I bought my PlayStation 5 because I'm a PS Plus member, and it was part of the PS Plus collection. But having said that, this is actually one that if you could find a decent deal on it, I'm guessing it's probably no more than probably 20 or 30 bucks right now, because the next one's coming out. But I highly recommend this one. If you're a fan of the Resident Evil games, or you're a fan of the survival horror, I totally think this is worth a pick up and play through, especially if you did get a chance to maybe play the demo of 8, or you saw footage of the demo of 8 and you're planning on getting that one. This would be a fantastic game to pick up to kind of get you ready for that, because it is, from what I understand, a pretty straightforward sequel. You know, 7 kind of leads into 8, and so 7 kind of sets up what you're going to see in 8. As Ethan Winters and Mia Winters return for the next one. So I do highly recommend this one. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up, and I totally think that you should play it if you want. Like I said, the story kind of at the end does get a little weird, where it kind of seems like they kind of almost force-fed in the connection with Umbrella Corporation. But I mean, from all the other ones that we've seen, right down to, you know, Resident Evil 0, Code Veronica, the side mission ones, if you will. Anything's possible in the world of Umbrella Corps. So it doesn't really, even though it kind of makes it confusing at the end as to what really happened, kind of leaves you with that kind of weird, like, unambiguous ending. Ambiguous ending, unambiguous ending, I'm not sure which one it would be. But overall, fantastic game. Super glad we played it. And after Dead Space, this guy gives us we're off to a rockin' start of 2021 with the new games that have been fantastic. So, highly recommend, if you get a chance, play Resident Evil VII, Biohazard, and one of the DLCs, the Chris Redfield DLC, is free to purchase. So if you do get the game, you should pick that up as well. I think I'm going to do the same. So either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. If you did like the game, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit those comments down below. Let me know what you thought. If you didn't like the game, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit those comments with what you didn't like about it, because I am generally interested always to hear what you guys think on the games we play as well. But I really enjoyed it. So either way, if you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell so you know when I do drop a new video or go live. Head on over to Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow me over there as well, at BigSweetC. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. As long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.